several different things here within this webinar. So I'm going to get it started. You guys tuning in on Facebook, stay tuned. I'm going to get everything fired up here right now. As many of you know, today is a beautiful day other than the massive amount of wind out there right now and water. Here in Coldwater, Ohio, we got probably 2 inches or so of rain overnight. And so that kind of made a mess of things overnight. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get over to my first PowerPoint here where we're going to talk about some planner setups. So those of you joining in, if you don't know, Pfennig Equipment is based out of Coldwater, Ohio. Many of our customers are throughout Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. And it's kind of not exactly in the Midwest. We're further east than most, but we can cover a wide variety of people with the different products that we carry. So most of you guys tuning in have probably heard of us. If not, welcome to the webinar, and we're going to educate you about Pfennig Equipment in general. Before we jump into this first PowerPoint, I want to talk over a few products that are very popular this time of year, and they're actually kind of new. This first one right here is going to be the RK Products. It's called the Gauge Wheel Arm Clip. So everyone has the gauge wheel arms on your planner. They ride up and down. They obviously set the depth of your row units. What happens is on that arm, it hits the depth stop all the time, constantly. And that depth stop is beating up your arm, and it puts a little divot in it. And of course, you can turn those arms over time. What this clip does is it actually clips onto that arm, and now that piece hits this stainless plate and does away with the divot that it puts into that cast arm. These things are extremely cost effective. They're $5 per gauge wheel arm, so $10 per row. This is a product that is fairly new for RK Products. If you have a worn gauge wheel arm, you basically weld it flush, and then you grind it down and slip this on. So you can put this on a new gauge wheel arm or a worn out one. So for $5 per arm, I highly suggest these. This will come in handy not only long-term down the road if you have to replace your gauge wheel arms, but you go to trade that planner in, it won't have any worn arms on it. Another product from RK is something we've talked a lot about recently. We've sold a bunch of these, and this is the closing wheel repair kit. So how this works is if you have a brand new planner, we replace the John Deere bushing with this bearing right here. Basically, what we do is how it works is that bushing basically wears out that cast arm is what happens. The bushing does not act as a bushing from the factory, and we replace it with this. If you have a worn tail piece or a planner that's used at all, whether it's 1 year or 200 acres or 10 years, you're going to need to weld on this bushing. So what you do is you take out your bushing from the factory, you weld this over top of that hole, and then you slip the bearing inside of it. So now that closing wheel piece pivots on this bearing. So you will have no more wear. It's going to be square. It's going to be tight, and $25 a row. So if you've got worn tail pieces as you're going through the planners, I know there's a ton of planners in the shop today and last week due to the quarantine, people are looking for all kinds of things to do. Here's a great one. Go ahead if you've got a 1770, if you've got a Kinsey 2,000 or 3,000, any planner you've got, wiggle that tail piece. And if there's play in there, either way, you're going to want to replace that. And don't do it with the factory bushings, because obviously if there's play in there, the factory bushings aren't doing you much good. You need to upgrade to an aftermarket specialty kit that tightens that up and cleans up that pivot. Last product I want to talk about real quick. I'm talking about smaller products because that's about what I can lift and fit on the screen of what we offer really. This is a Martin razor wheel closing wheel system for the 2000 and 1200 series planners. So obviously from the factory, these come smooth and they come straight. This one is straight. They are also available in a cupped 9.5-inch version. This is the 8-inch version for the Case 1200 series planters. There is also a 9-inch version that's cupped, and it replaces those covering discs, the smooth ones, on the Case IH planters. Now you may say, well, why in the heck would I ever want those? Well, these razor wheels, instead of that smooth disc kind of dragging in wet conditions, these are designed to kind of penetrate and break down that sidewall compaction with those Case closing wheels. So basically you run one per side, so 2 per row, and they do a great job of breaking up the compaction right before that packer wheel comes through and lays it down smooth. I do have 32 of these in stock. I talked about them this morning a little bit on Twitter. I really like them because they have bolt-on bearings and housings. If you were to throw a bearing, these are not riveted on, they're bolted on. So Martin quality there that everyone has come to know. So I've got 32 of these in stock if you guys need them. So those are some quick products I wanted to go over before we dig in. One last thing, if you guys have not gotten our 2020 pricing catalog yet, I urge you to give us a call. We have a whole palette of these. It's got Yetter pricing, it's got Enduraplast pricing, our wear parts pricing, our liquid plumbing parts. It's a book that you got to have laid on your workbench. If you're working on anything, it's most likely in that book. You can give us a call and we can get you set up to get whatever it is you need. So real quick, I'm going to share my screen again, get back over to the PowerPoint and talk about some planner setups here real quick, if I can get it to open. So I'm going to talk about closing wheels briefly. I talk about closing wheels year round. You guys are probably tired of hearing me talk about closing wheels, but I'm going to do it again here real quick. If you've got that planner in the shop and you are running factory smooth rubber closing wheels, give me a call. We'll send you something to try, whether it's Yetter's cast spike, whether it's the Copperhead plastic furrow cruiser, anything other than those factory smooths. We'll send you a row just to try, because there is a huge difference, and that is how confident we are in a different spike closing wheel when used properly. This is a video here I did with Jared Chester down at Beck's in London, Ohio. This video right here has had the most views on our YouTube page over any other video we've ever done, and it's because of these two numbers right here. That top number is emergence, thousands of plants per acre that we counted with Yetter poly spikes. This is going into corn stalks. 110,000 with rubber closing wheels. This was counted over and over and over again. You could literally drive down the plots and see where the rubber closers ran versus where the Yetter poly spikes ran. Those are huge numbers. 17,000 in no-till situations, and we saw 12,000 difference in conventional. We did it over and over. If you don't believe us or you want to try it on your farm, I've got them in stock, and we can do it on your farm as well. But these are real numbers. I tell guys right here, you can cut down your soybean population 12,000 instantly when you go to rubber closing wheels. The reason is because you're going to see much more emergence, more seeds emerge. So not only are you saving money by closing the slot and having a more uniform stand, but you can also start cutting back on your seeding population. I'm just going to breeze through this. I want to talk about several things in the webinar. The first one being the planner setup. The second one, we're going to brief on the H2 Ohio program. We're going to talk about how you can stay in touch with Fennig equipment, how you can find us on YouTube, and then we're going to talk about a few items that we've got in inventory. So if you guys are working on those Kinsey 3000s, the interplants, or the 1790s, mainly the soybean planters here, there's some tricky things you need to look at. Number one, everyone wants to go out there and plant those soybeans early, and I really urge you to do so. There's huge advantages of doing that. We saw last year in 2019 that we can plant corn in June and still harvest a favorable number. Granted, we had quite a favorable weather season to go hand in hand with that, but it can certainly be done. We know the later that we plant soybeans, we can run into some problems there, not having enough sunlight during certain times of the year. So we want to get those soybeans planted first. So if you're working on a planter right now, get that soybean planter or your drill, whatever you plant them with, get that thing in tip-top shape. If you have to make one change to your soybean planter this spring, put closing wheels on it. If you don't want to put closing wheels on every row because you've got a 1632, call me and we'll put closing wheels on 3 rows and let you try it. Again, whenever you're doing this, take off that no-till coulter. Get the no-till coulter off of your soybean planter, get it off of your corn planter. It creates a lot of problems. Number one, it can create hairpinning. So instead of cutting that residue, it actually just pushes the residue down into the seed slot and you're laying seeds right on top of that residue. Number two, it feels every hard and soft spot out there in the field. If you hit a rock, the no-till coulter lifts your unit up. If you hit a soft spot, it runs your row unit down. It's the feeler out there that controls your row unit because it's bolted rigid to that row unit. It also does this to your row unit a lot. It creates a lot of bounce because it's out there mounted rigid. It makes your seed tube bounce and feels things. It can also create a false bottom, which is where that no-till coulter is set deeper than your seed depth. So if you think you're planting 2 inches deep, your no-till coulter is a half inch deeper. You're actually planting 2.5 inches of depth and you don't even know it. It also robs your down pressure. If we have a guy come to us and say that he cannot get his planter in the ground, if you take off your no-till coulters, your planter will penetrate so much better and so much easier. Saying no to the no-till coulter, must have on every soybean planter. Residue managers do a great job of moving the residue as well. But when we talk about planting soybeans and harvesting soybeans and raising a good soybean crop, it actually starts in the fall. There is so much residue locked up in all of this stuff laying on the ground, corn fodder. Especially last year, we had fairly decent yields. There was a lot of stuff laying out there, and we probably didn't get that 870 out there fast enough to get it chiseled before we got wet. The Yetter Devastator is the first line of defense whenever you're planting soybeans. I know it doesn't always sound right to be thinking of fall harvest when we're talking spring planting. However, there's a lot of nutrients locked up here, and if your stalks are still standing straight up today, those nutrients are still locked in there, and they will still be locked in there until the spring of 2021. When you run a Devastator, it knocks those stalks flat and it crimps them every 2 to 4 inches and breaks that stalk open. I'm going to do a video this week comparing devastated stalks and non-devastated stalks and show the breakdown from November of 19 until late March of 2020 to show you guys how much of a difference it makes. Not only is it much easier to plant into stuff like that, but it also, there's a lot of nutrients that have been released back into the soil that those soybeans can now use. So it all starts with the combine and managing that residue when we talk about soybeans, because we obviously typically on a corn bean rotation plant our soybeans after corn harvest. Those are the residue managers that we would typically put up front to help us get through this trash. Basically what we're doing here is we need the row cleaners just to move the trash. They do not move any dirt. They create a clean seed bed to keep from that residue getting down into that seed trench and creating disease. So this is how people used to plant soybeans. They would use that no-till coulter to create some tillage. However, we've found that lifts up the planter. It creates a uneven ride for your soybean planting unit. It also creates a false seed bed, and it hairpins a lot of residue. We know that, and we've seen it over time. Here is how planting soybeans is today. no no-till coulter, and just a floating residue manager out front. Again, all we're asking that thing to do is move the corn residue out of the way. We don't want it to move any dirt, just residue to create a nice clean slot. Basically what these residue managers do is they can eliminate the need to do 2 and 3 tillage passes in the spring. Why would you need to do a tillage pass in the spring if you can just move the residue out of the way and plant into a clean zone of 15 inches wide? You'll get really good seed to soil contact. You won't have the disease pressure, and you won't have the closing wheel problems whenever you plant into a clean zone like this. This is almost like stripping your fields before you plant. That's what the residue managers can provide. We talk closing wheels all the time. This is an option for case planters. The poly twister goes on Kinseys and cases and 1770s and everything. But again, closing wheels play a big part into that. More residue managers set up there. Of course, Precision Planting offers some really nice metering systems to help accurately meter your soybeans so that you can aggressively cut your rates down. If you plant soybeans with a drill, Yetter does offer some great options for that as well. We can get cast closing wheels for your drill. We can get residue managers for your drill. So don't think that I'm only talking to the 1795 and the Kinsey 3600 crowd. If you're out there pulling a center fill drill or even a 15-foot 750, we can accommodate that as well. Here is a drill with some row cleaners mounted on the front of it. That's the Yetter 2967-029. Some of you guys have seen this spoke gauge wheel. In wet conditions, it certainly does eliminate some plugging that can happen within that gauge wheel. Not only that, but you can see through it, which actually can be beneficial in some scenarios. So I was talking about the stripping effect that the row cleaners create. This is kind of what it would look like after row cleaners run. Now, granted, this is in some soybean residue, but that's what it looks like. In that zone where the seed's going, it is clean, zero residue, and that trench is shut. So that's basically what I've got on the planting side. That was mainly talking soybean planting. Now I want to move over to the H2 Ohio program, talk a little bit about that. If you guys have not heard of the H2 Ohio program, basically what it is, there's 14 counties in Ohio right now that are getting some cost share benefits to outfit equipment to subsurface apply phosphorus, seed cover crops, manage water, and application of manure, subsurface application of manure at different time frames throughout the year. What Fennig equipment's mainly focusing on helping you guys with is the phosphorus placement and the cover crop seeding. Basically, I'm going to go through some pictures here and show you guys some options. Here's a row unit that we're working on right now. This should get the cover croppers all warm and fuzzy. This is something that we've been, and of course, Fennig equipment is a cover crop specialist. That's what we do. So we're cover croppers ourselves, and this gets us warm and fuzzy as well. But this is our S2S row unit. Basically what this does is it mounts to a toolbar right here, a 4x4, whatever size you've got. And let me pause it. Basically what we're doing here is we're dispersing the seed in front of this gang row unit. As you can see that gang row unit there. And we use that gang row unit to disturb the soil, and then that roller comes along and packs it down smooth. This is designed to go into standing corn when corn's anywhere from 3 inches to 2.5 feet tall, or however tall you can clear it, and seed cover crops into standing corn. This is an awesome way to do it. We've built several rotary hoe style units. You can buy the Salford row units and run 2 drill units side by side. That gets extremely costly. But we really like this one because, number one, it's cost effective. Number two, it covers the entire zone, the entire 30-inch zone. And also, We've got hydraulic down pressure built into there. It's a parallel linkage row unit. There's just a lot of things that can be done. We're going to be building a few toolbars here this summer, playing around with this unit, but this is something that we're really excited about. I think it can change the way that people seed cover crops. I think it can change the way that we drive and go in there to not only side dress corn, but seed cover crops as well. There's tons of benefits and potential right here with this S2S row unit. Maybe you guys have seen it before. We had it at the National No-Till Conference and the National Farm Machinery Show. I want to go through here and show you guys a couple pictures of some other cover crop seeding aspects that we've done in projects. This one here, you've seen us mount cover crop seeders on Haggies for years. Here's just another one that we've done. Of course, the post-harvest application of cover crops, that would be after harvest, go in there with a light tillage tool, not to do tillage, but mainly just to incorporate the cover crops, disturb a little bit of dirt. That's a great post-harvest application. You can also plant soybeans and wheat with that. And I'm talking harvest wheat. I've got a ton of guys that do that. We do that here. If you plant your soybeans with a planter, this setup right here will 100% replace your drill or your need for a drill. Here's the Interceder Toolbar. You guys have all seen our rotary hoe units that we mount on the toolbars. Of course, the Valmar cover crop seeder is what does all of the metering and all the seeding. Again, a 3-point mount cover crop. I really like what this one can do. You can go in there with just a 3-point hookup. There's no other wheels other than your tractor. And you can go in there right before leaf drop on soybeans. You can overseed some hay pasture. You can seed hay fields with this. There's a lot of things you can do with that 40-foot boom 3-point system. Again, a self-propelled unit with a Valmar cover crop seeder on it. This has become extremely popular, and we've got a lot of projects lined up to do this summer as well. This is a quick glimpse of what the Salford lineup can offer you. Not only do they offer the tillage lineup of tools, they offer the Valmar cover crop seeder, and then of course the air carts as well. So this is actually in Ohio. They're actually seeding barley after wheat right here in this snapshot. A lot of you guys own J&M rolling baskets or Underfirth rolling baskets. This is right here is a great way to do it as well. Whether you're going to pull this behind an existing tillage tool, or you just use this as a dedicated cover cropping machine, you can simply do that. Those rollers are going to disturb enough dirt to incorporate that seed and get it going. That box right there holds 3,000 pounds. Again, that was a custom build that a customer came to us and wanted us to build it. And we were happy to do so, and it turned out really well. And I think that's a great way to seed cover crops in the future. This picture right here gets me pretty excited. We're currently working on building 2 projects for H2 Ohio that are very similar to this. This is a liquid applicator frame, and it just obviously doesn't have the tank on it. So what we're doing is we're taking the tank off of these applicator frames and we're putting a Salford box on it. This is actually a twin bin box. And we're going to use the Yetter Nutrient Pro 4000 coulter, and we're going to band phosphorus and other fertilizers below the soil surface, 2 to 4 inches of depth. And we're going to be going in there either in a side dress or a post-harvest application to band fertilizer. It's an awesome way to do it, and I'm really excited to get those projects going. Those of you that have a liquid side dress applicator, this can be done on your farm. This was designed to cover crop while side dressing. It kind of goes back to that S2S row unit that we make model. That right there is the most rapidly growing window of seeding cover crops. It's doing it when you're also doing your nitrogen application, for obvious reasons. And we're excited to do a lot more of that in the next few months. Again, Valmar cover crop seeder on top of a Hagee. Nothing new there. We do a ton of those every year, and I think it's a great way to do it. Though you are limited to 60 foot, you can still cover a lot of acres with that width. Possibly my favorite window of application, though it is a little tricky to convince my growers to take the time to do that. This is Josh and Troy Fir, located in Northwest Indiana up by Rensselaer. They do this every year with that Drago GT and absolutely love it. That's a great way to seed cover crops. As you're driving through the field harvesting your crop, you're seeding your covers at the same time, and the germination rate on that application is very, very good. That's a cover crop box that we built here in-house and is available for retail. Talking cover crops, you guys have all seen that Yetter Devastator that we talked about earlier in the picture on the combine when we were talking about soybean planting. We're now starting to mount these onto corn planters. In fact, Josh and Troy in this picture, they just this year got the Yetter Devastators for their planter. They already have them on that Drago GT. They now have them on their 1790, I believe it is. So really excited to get those on planters. And what we're doing is we're going to crimp and flatten those cover crops with the Yetter Devastator. Really exciting concept. We talked earlier about row cleaners on planters. Here's a couple. Mainly I want to focus on that top picture. That would be our triple thread application system. That's something you're going to see a lot more of. Basically, if you just have a colder knife unit today and you're putting fertilizer in between the corn rows, 15 inches between the two rows, our triple thread application system, let me circle it here, that can be bolted on to an 1.5 or an 1.75 round shank, and you can actually Y drop at the same time that you're placing your fertilizer in the center of the row. So basically we put an end to the Y drop colder argument because I really like what each of them do. I like the placement of the Y drop. I like how the knife injects oxygen into the soil whenever you're using a colder knife unit. So that right there is the best of both worlds, and I think it offers a lot of advantages to your systems. Here's a customer going into standing corn with row units seeding cover crops. That right there is a pretty common picture, and it's a great way to get it done. Talking about the H2 Ohio program, here's a setup that would work perfectly for it. A Salford air cart with the Yetter Magnum 2987 units, basically banding fertilizer 3 to 5 inches of depth, going high speed, low disturbance. So there's very little soil erosion after that 2987. It tucks the fertilizer right in there where you want it, seals it off, and that's a great way to do it. These Salford St Ten boxes, they're an absolute game changer for metering dry fertilizer products. Not only do they have a 60-40 split, so in that 10-ton box, that back one is 6 ton, the front one's a 4 ton, but they blend the two products together after they're metered. So you can be metering 10 pounds out of this front one and 400 pounds out of the back one, and it will equally blend those, and they will come out through this exact same hose down into the same knife, the two blended products. So really neat concept. Those boxes are head over heels over the competition and what they can do, the amounts they can apply, their accuracy, their rate controller options. There's just so much to love about those ST carts, and you'll be seeing a lot more of those. Like I said, the ST carts, this was a custom build we did for a grower over in Indiana. We put a Valmar 4056 box out front, basically to handle micronutrients. So that's what I've got on the H2 Ohio side of things. From there, I want to you know, we do a lot of webinars, we do a lot of email blasts, and our goal here at Fennec Equipment is to stay connected with our customers. And that's the main reason for the webinar today. Everyone is at home, mainly because of the quarantine, partially because it's soaking wet and extremely windy outside. So there's not much to be doing out there. There's no basketball or football on. So you guys are having to resort to listening to this webinar today. But all jokes aside, I want to walk you guys through the options that you have to stay in touch with Fennec Equipment. And I want to start off with our YouTube channel. So if you've never been to our YouTube channel, simply go to youtube.com and search Fennec Equipment. Bunch of videos will show up. Our entire page will show up. We currently have 516 subscribers. I would love to see that hit the millennial farmers numbers of 500,000, but I'm just not quite there yet. We do have somewhere in the 350 videos uploaded, dating all the way back to several years ago. So we try to upload videos weekly, several videos a week. But this is something I would urge everyone to get onto YouTube, check out our videos. It's a live feed of what we are doing every day. This spring and summer, we're going to have some awesome videos, flying drones over new equipment that we've sold and different things like that. So that's one way to get a hold of us here at Fennec Equipment. Another way, and there's a lot of things you can do on this next one, is of course our website. Our website offers a wide variety of opportunities for you guys to get educated about what we do, about the equipment that we offer, and to stay in touch with us. First off, you type in FennecEquipment.com, it takes you to our home page. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, down here in the bottom right corner, and type in your email address, that will get you signed up for our weekly email blast. Every Friday morning at 6 a.m., we send out an email blast that tells you what we did that week. It shows our newest pictures and videos of projects. We may do a customer spotlight where we talk about a specific grower or a specific company that we represent. So there's a lot of information that can hit your inbox every Friday morning, and it's not a bunch of junk mail. We won't overload you with emails. There's simply one every week, every Friday morning. Go back up here to the top and click on Equipment Inventory, and this is a current, updated, live feed of all of the inventory that we have. You scroll through here and it lists what we've got with pictures, some of them with prices. They all have descriptions. But you can just scroll through here and see exactly what we've got on our lot. Everything from a toolbar to a fertilizer spreader, several fertilizer spreaders, our tillage tools, everything that we've got is located right here. You can simply sort through it and figure out what item it is that you want to give us a call on. Of course, our phone number's there. And then I want to show you one last thing here. This is our Buy Now page. We now have a live shopping cart available for you guys. If there's a product you want to buy today, you can click on this top item, click how many you want, and it'll ship right out of here on Monday. And you don't even have to worry about talking to myself or getting a hold of someone. You can just punch in your credit card and it'll show up at your door. So we do have, I believe, 15 or 20 products available right now that you can buy instantly online, and we will be working to upload more and more as we go on. So that's basically our website. I want to now take you over to if it'll let me. go back to that. I want to show you where our two on-the-road salesmen are located, Kevin and Seth. Kevin Tushlog is located in Richmond, Indiana. And I want to just point this out on the map for everyone who maybe is not familiar with the territory. So obviously the United States, we zoom in. Fenig Equipment's located right here, right next to that Grand Lake St. Mary's. Kevin is located right here in Richmond, Indiana. Let's go ahead and zoom in on Richmond. Right here, Richmond, Indiana, just off Interstate 70, right at the Ohio-Indiana line. So he is straight south of our shop, roughly 45 minutes to an hour. Kevin's territory is most of Indiana, parts of south, western Ohio, and a good portion of the southern Illinois region. Kevin also gets up into Michigan from time to time. If you are anywhere in that region, I urge you to reach out to Kevin Tushlog. If you need his information, shoot us an email, shoot us a text or a message on Facebook, or however you want to get a hold of us and reach out to Kevin. Seth is located up here near Ashland, Ohio. Seth used to work at a tractor dealership. He was very well versed in the Salford lineup that we offer, in the BBI lineup that we offer. And Seth has been with us for a little over a year now. Seth is located up here in Nova, so northern Ohio. So you guys near Greenwich, Mansfield, Galion, Marion, Mount Vernon, Akron, Fremont region, that would be Seth's territory. We do also have what you could call a second location up there. Seth has got a lot and a location and a shop and a storefront up there where he's got Enduraplast tanks, he's got Salford tillage tools, he's got BBI spreaders, and a whole variety of different products up there. So I urge you to give Seth a call and contact him if you're in that immediate area. If you are outside of those areas, if maybe you're in the Carolinas, maybe you're in Oklahoma, Chris Ledbetter out there, I know he's getting ready to plant here this week out in Oklahoma. Some guys in North Carolina I talked to are getting ready to plant, but you guys call into our office and we'll get you tackled and sent off to the salesman that you can talk to and get educated on about our products. Couple last minute things I want to talk about here real quick is a couple items on our inventory. Last week I did a inventory flyover. I took the drone and I flew over our shop out here, and I want to briefly bring that back and talk to you about a couple products that are still available or some that are not. Our Enduraplast tanks, that picture looks a lot different today. We have got probably a dozen tanks out there right now available, with a semi truck showing up first thing tomorrow morning to replenish our stock as well. So we now have horizontals, we now have 2500s, 5000s in stock. That yellow tank is no longer available. Also want to go over here and talk about, there it is. Need to find these Top Air ATV sprayers. These Top Air ATV sprayers are new to Fenig Equipment. We started selling these, we just got them maybe a month or so ago, and we've had very good feedback on them. With this wet spring, if you need to go out there, top dress your wheat, get these cover crops killed in time for planting, this is an awesome way to do it. That's a 200-gallon tank, 60-foot boom. It's got flotation tires on it to help carry across the field. Honda pump, 3-section, 15-inch spacing. Those things are really, really sweet. So if you're looking for a sprayer here this spring, that's a product that's really hot right now. It's a product that won't last long, and pretty soon it's a product that's going to be very hard to get a hold of. Real quick, the last thing I want to talk about is going to be the applicators. Currently, we have two Farm King 11 row applicators. We've got that Case IH, and we have the Fast available. So if you're looking to make changes to side dress, give us a call. We do take trades on side dress applicators. And again, we've got a 15, a 17, and two 11s currently right now in our lineup. So as we approach the next step after planting, which was obviously side dress, give us a call. Fennig Equipment is the fertilizer application specialist. So that's really all I've got today in today's webinar. I wanted to throw a whole bunch of things in there. I didn't have one specific thing I wanted to hammer home. With the COVID-19 stuff going on right now, we are open for business. We do ask people to just call ahead first. That way we can manage the social distancing, and if we need to get you parts, we can. Other than that, our guys most likely won't be out on the road knocking on doors and stuff like that. We're going to stay here in the shop and get through this. So that's what we're doing today. Hopefully you found the webinar entertaining and educational, and hopefully it helps you get your mind turning on not only your planter, but maybe cover crop seeding and side dressing as well. So if there's anything you guys need from us here this next week, give myself a call, give Kurt a call, Seth, Kevin, or my dad, Gary, as well. So that's what we're doing today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We look forward to talking to you in the next webinar. Thanks for tuning in.